Hi, this is Paul with VisiCore, and today I want to walk you through what may be a non-obvious use case for our GoatSearch command. So the easy use case is, okay, great, you type some KQL into the query, you hit search, and you get your results in there. But did you know that you can use GoatSearch to automate replays as long as you have your sources set up within Cribl? So we're going to walk through two different methods of running a replay. One is going to be a Cribl-based method, and one is going to be a Splunk-based method. So if we jump over here, a prerequisite that's going to be in GoatSearch is that you have this tenant configured and tested. So we're going to jump over here to GoatSearch Explorer. And actually, I'm going to jump over to this one. This is going to be our target index. Index equals VPC. And we can see that we have all times selected here. And if I go ahead and run a search on that, we can see that there are no events in that index. And that's what we want. So jumping back over here to GoatSearch Explorer, we're going to select our tenant. And it's going to default to Cribl internal logs. And that's all good. So we're going to go ahead and open this in search right now. And again, this is just for a refresher of the search capabilities on this. And there we go. So we've got our 1000 events. So now what if we wanted to replay this? So consider this. You get an enterprise security correlation search notable event alert for a specific use case, or you have some type of indicator of compromise that's logged, and you want to then run a replay on data surrounding that event. And you could be keying on an IP address, you could be keying on a host name, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to go ahead and close this out. And on our GoatSearch Explorer, for the purpose of this, we are going to use an S3 sample. So this is on the Cribl side being searched in place in S3. This data has not been ingested into Splunk yet. So we're going to go ahead and open this one up into a GoatSearch Explorer, Search Explorer for GoatSearch. So while that is running, notice that the time range is running over the last 15 minutes. This is going to be the Splunk method for it. So we're just going to pipe collect index equals VPC. And we're going to run it again. And as we look at these two different cases for it, then we're going to see the pros and cons of each. So this is obviously the pro of this is a Splunk native solution. And if we go over here and research on our index equals VPC, then there it is. We can see that we have all these events. Now, these all happen to come in at the exact same time. So you have to have your collect command configured correctly so that you can probably set the time on it and so that you can do field extractions. If I jump back over here to the GoatSearch Explorer and we look at this space delimited field, we can see that space delimited event, we can see that all of our fields down here are extracted. And however, if we jump over here to index equals VPC and look at this again, none of those are extracted. So we need to have that source type set up. That's going to be a drawback to using this method. A cleaner method is to use the pipe send command in Cribl. So that is going to require a bit of prerequisite setup as well. So we're just going to jump over here in Cribl. And the first thing you're obviously, other than having your data set up in Cribl Search, we are going to jump into a source here. And we're going to make sure that Cribl HTTP is turned on. By default, the pipe send out of Cribl Search sends to the Cribl HTTP. So we're on the default worker group and we've got that. So we can see our input ID, this is enabled and it's ready to receive data. We will then need a destination setup. So we're going to look over here. We've got our Splunk hex set up right here. And there we go. So we've got the hex set up, the hex authentication token. If we want to, we can go ahead and run a test on that. Good. So the destination works. Now, for the purpose of this, we have a route set up, and this is going to be our replay route. So we can see that we're looking for events coming in on that Cribl HTTP input. We're sending it through the replay set index pipeline, and we're sending it out to the Splunk Cloud hex destination. This pipeline, the replay set index, literally just sets the index. The purpose of that is for this demonstration, but you could use any type of filter logic, any type of routing logic. That way, no matter what your source is, no matter where it's coming from, you properly set your index and get it routed downstream. So that is the prerequisite setup in Splunk Cloud. So let's jump back over here to our, there it is. This is going to be our GoatSearch command. Now, what we're not going to do is we're not going to limit it to 1,000 at this point. We are going to replace this with pipe send group equals default, and that will tell it to send it to that Cribl HTTP input. Now we're going to actually run this a little bit in the past. There we go. Let's just go ahead and run it over the last 60 minutes. That'll make this easier. Now, when we get these results back, they're not going to render here in the search bar. That's because it's actually being sent for ingest into Splunk. And once it finishes, in a perfect world, they should be searchable in the index equals VPC. So we may actually be able to go over there and see some status on that. There we go. So we have some events coming in. And we can look here, and this is going to be over the presumably last hour. There it is. It's over the last hour. So let's hit one of these because I know they came in a lot earlier. Now, a benefit of doing it this way is notice that we have all of this data extracted. So that is going to be a huge benefit of doing that. But what we've done is we've looked at a point in time. Well, we've looked at a last 60-minute replay of data directly out of S3 into Splunk Cloud. Another way that we can do this, and this is a new feature in version 1.1.0. In fact, using the replay at all requires 1.1.0. So if you're still on one of the 1.0 releases, please upgrade to be able to use the replay functionality. We now support the earliest and latest keywords. So we're going to do earliest equals, I tell you what, let's do, so we can see some separation, -6 hours, and latest equals -5 hours. So the use case for this would be you get an indicator of compromise that comes in, and maybe you want to capture a certain window around that. So we're going to go ahead and at this point, it's going to completely ignore the time range picker, just like a native Splunk search does. If you specify earliest and latest with those keywords, it is going to completely ignore what you've said here. So we've got our same thing. We're just looking at that data set, the Cribl Search sample. We're going to send it to the default group. And we're looking at that 1 hour window that is going to be offset by 6 hours. So at this point, we're running again and again with piping the send command. You're not going to get that result set back through the search window. You will see the results of it when it starts sending it. And if I had to guess, if we jump over here and go ahead and run a search on our index equals VPC, we should go ahead and see that first hour that we captured just now. And we're going to see a 4-hour gap. And this is actually the first time that I've run these tests consecutively. So, okay. We're going to see if it actually works. Cribl Search sample. There it is. That's exactly what I was looking for. Love when stuff works. So this was part of the first test that we ran. And remember, we used the collect command in SPL to do that. And the downside to doing that is, well, this is one of the good results. The downside to doing the collect method, if you remember, is that no fields were extracted in that. These two blocks combined are going to be the second method that we used, and that's using that time range picker to use a relative time window in the past to get the last 60 minutes. And we can see here what we expected to be the 4-ish hour gap. And if we go back to, and that's actually a pretty chunk of events. You've got 300,000 events here and 263,000 events here, and you can see how quick that was. So that is a real world use case for using replay, or for doing a direct replay out of Cribl, only moving the data that you need using the GoatSearch command. So hope this is helpful, and thanks for all the feedback on GoatSearch so far. And please feel free to continue sending those suggestions, those bug reports, and those feature requests our way.